Hey guys, welcome into another overclocking video. So this one is on the RX 6600. So you can see on my little test bench here, I have three RX 6600s, the ASRock versions, and basically it's just the motherboard, power supply, Wi-Fi stick, RAM, CPU, and that's it. That's everything that's here. And so that's three of them, drawing a grand total of about 156 watts. I mean, going down to as low as 155, jumping up as high as sometimes 159. I've just used the number 156.5 for my calculations. The system idle is about 17 watts. And that leaves us with 139.5 watts. Divided by 3 is 46.5 watts per GPU. And we know they do 28.9 megahash. So that leaves us with an efficiency of 0.6215, which is incredibly efficient. Probably, I believe, the most efficient gaming GPU there is. Obviously there's like the CMP 170HX, which is way more efficient, and then there's the A2000, which I believe is more efficient, because it does 42 megahash at 75 watts or so from the wall. So I believe that one might be more efficient depending on overclock settings. But yeah, these ones are incredibly efficient, and in terms of dollar per megahash, they're also crazy good as well. Shortly I'll take you through the software side and show you all the settings I use to get these down to that wattage. But you've got to keep in mind a few factors like silicone lottery. Sometimes the GPUs react differently to overclocks than others. Just luck of the draw pretty much. And then the other factor is these are all ASRoCs. I also have MSI 6600, a Power Color Sapphire, and an XFX, so they all pull a similar amount of power, plus minus 2 watts or so. So yeah, they're all pretty much on par with each other. Extremely efficient GPUs. One thing I like about them is that, especially on this motherboard, so as you can see there's 8 slots on this riserless motherboard. All you need is a 750 watt power supply with 4 PCIe cables, and as you can see I've done here, so each 6600 has a splitter, and then that splitter can actually, like 2 of them can go per 8-pin cable from the PSU. That is safe as per like every figure you look at. So an 8-pin cable can hold, I think it's around 280 watts. So you apply the 80% rule, it's around 230, I believe, just off the top of my head. And each of these GPUs, as we figured out, is drawing under 50 watts. So even if we use 60 watts, so I'd get about 58 watts if I was doing Ravencoin. So if we use the number 60 watts, 2 of them using 60 watts, 2 per 8-pin, so it's only 120 watts per cable, which is like extremely low. And then the other thing about that, it's kind of the smallest power supply you could go with is just a 750 watt, because that's the only one that's going to have 4 8-pin cables. So then with the 750 watt, you're also going to be at around 50% usage, or a little bit below. You'd be a little bit below. Math off the top of my head, 46.5 times 8 plus 17. I can't do that math, not off the top of my head. But yeah, it's around 50% of 750 watts, which is where most PSUs are their most efficient, at 50% load. So these GPUs are incredibly good for a 8 GPU setup. You just got to make sure you don't spend too much on the setup. For example, like this motherboard cost me about 200 New Zealand dollars. The RAM was like $20. The Wi-Fi stick was about $12, and PSU was about 170, I believe. But I've got, like, I paid 150 for this one, which is EVGA, 750 watt with 4 8-pin cables. So that one would be able to do this job perfectly. So you don't want to spend too much. If you don't spend too much, this is like a really good setup. But if you're spending a lot on equipment, like you're buying those expensive as like $500-600 motherboards, this probably isn't the setup you want to do. You don't want to use such low mega hash GPUs on such an expensive setup, because it just takes so much time for these GPUs to pay off a large rig cost. Whereas if it's just a tiny little rig cost and then paying off their own cost, how much you paid for them, they're very cheap in terms of mega hash per dollar, and they're very efficient in terms of mega hash per watt. So really awesome GPU. And yeah, the next thing pretty much going to go into is the software side, and I'll show you how I get that low power usage with these. But before I go to that, I'll just mention the fans are at 15%. So because I've got the power usage down so low, they don't really produce a lot of heat. So I can put the fans down to 15%, even with the spacing being, quite small on these motherboards. Yeah, if it was all full, I don't know if I'd be able to get away with 15%. I might have to do 20 or 25%. But like with the power usage this low, it's pretty safe. Like, should be able to keep it fairly low, especially if I put it like under there or something, somewhere away from this rig, which produces a lot of heat. Yeah, so these GPUs are awesome, RX 6600 non-XTs, and yeah, I'll jump over into the software and I'll show you guys the settings you'll need to use in order to get similar results to me. Hey, so I'm in the software side of things here now. So as you can see, 28.96 mega hash per 6600. We've got 37 watts displayed in the software, which is pretty damn good. Yeah, we can see some of the settings here. Oh, sorry, I did say that these were at like 15 or 20% or something, but the fans are actually at 12%, which, because AMD GPUs, most of them make the fans like 2% slower than what you actually put in. That means they're actually at 10%. So yeah, I thought I'd include that in the testing, because they are a GPU that doesn't require the fans to really be high. I've noticed that if you do put any of the fans down to 5%, they actually stop moving, and if they stop moving, then the GPUs can't continue to operate. Like, yeah, even with 10%, they're like, this one's at 36 and these are at 41, 42. But if you go down to not moving, they shoot way up. Like over 50 on the core, like 70 on the Mem, and yeah, I'd rather just keep the fans on the GPUs and then not have to put any fans on the rig itself. Although something to note with these GPUs, most of them anyway, I haven't checked all of them, but the fins on the cooler, they actually run like lengthways, so they're more designed for server style cases. Like the air can go all the way through from one end to the other, as opposed to NVIDIA cards, they run like the short way. So it's just not the most ideal for a server type cooling or like a mining rig type cooling. The NVIDIA cards are more designed for in a pre-built computer, or in a a desktop computer, sorry. These are the settings that I've got here. 901 core clock. The 1 is very important. It ticks over something inside the GPU. I don't really understand what, but it gets it up to a point where the core voltage can be reduced lower than if it was 900. So if I change this to 900, you would see the power usage go up to about 39 or 40. Yeah, so that's a bit weird, but yeah. Also, it may crash with 635 if you change it to 900. But yeah, because it's 901, lower power usage, and we are able to get down to 635 on core voltage. Some of my other 6600s go down to like 610, 620. Then memory controller voltage 620. Some of the others can go all the way down to 590, although they don't specifically get better performance like efficiency wise because of that. It's just the number that it can achieve without crashing. 950 on the Mem Clock. Memory voltage on these ones 1105. Some of the others can go down to like 1070, but yeah, these ones, that was the number. Fan 12%. SoC freq 500 for all of them. And yeah, SoC VDDmax, this was the one that there was one thing different. This one GPU wanted 785. These other two were fine with 780. Took a little while to figure that out. Yeah, so this one is actually using slightly more power, but if I change them all to 785, it did fix the issue obviously because this one was at 785, but it also increased the wattage by a couple of watts. Like I think it was about 1 watt per GPU, and yeah, I didn't want that, so I just change those two to 780, and I'll just mark that GPU so I know that it has to have a different setting to the other ASRoCs. Yeah, that's pretty much all for the ASRoCs, but I will, because presumably if you're watching this video, it's to try and get your own GPUs to the same settings or the same power usage. So I will show you, this is my 12 GPU AMD rig. Obviously it's got 11 in it at the moment because I got I've got 14 AMD cards and 3 of them are on the test bench. So where are we? 6600 XFX. So this is a little bit complicated. This is showing 39 at the moment. I can get it to show 37, but if I alter any of these settings in any of the GPUs after reboot, this one will tick up along with a bunch of the other GPUs. This one, and I believe actually that's it. This one will stay the same. But most of the AMD GPUs either stay the same or their power usage will increase if you change any of the overclocks in any of the GPUs after boot, with the exception of this 6800. So this will be at about 105 watts if I reboot. And then if I change any of the settings, like it can be a fan setting, it can be like fan setting on this GPU down here, this one will drop down from 108 or 105 to 108 all the way down to like 97 to 99, and it will drop the mega hash temporarily, and then it will jump back up to 61.44. In fact, I wonder if that's visible in any of this here. So power, yeah, so here it's saying 105. And then I changed the setting, or I changed a setting on the rig and it dropped down to 97. Obviously I want to run it at that setting though, so every time I boot it I just change a setting. Yeah, back here as well, I hadn't quite realized it yet, and then I figured it out right there when I had a crash presumably, and then changed a setting after it had rebooted, and then it went down, and that's kind of when I figured it out, I guess. But yeah, that also affects some of the other GPUs. You can see this was the trigger point this is the trigger point. This is when I changed the settings. So you can see like the purple line on the left hand side of my cursor went slightly up when I did that. And can't really see the yellow line in here, but potentially that could have changed as well. But that's a 6700 XT anyway. Looks like maybe just one of the GPUs actually has followed that, which would be GPU 6. So GPU 6, which is the power color. So yeah, that's this one here. I believe that one does it too, but now I'm not 100% sure now that I've looked at that. But yeah, the settings, I will open up the settings. So XFX, if you have one of these 6600s, this is the settings that I used. So yeah, able to get these a little bit lower, and this one a little bit lower, and this one significantly lower, but that still equates to actually pretty much the same power usage. Actually, I think XFX might have been slightly higher. I do have the numbers written down somewhere, but not on hand. MSI, extremely efficient. Obviously it shows 35 in the software. At the wall it wasn't quite as good as it's claiming there. Like, I think it was pretty much the same as the ASRoX, even though it shows 2 watts less in the software. So if you have an MSI, these would be kind of the settings to go for. Then again, it's all dependent on silicone lottery, so if you get a crash with these settings or any of the other settings, increase all these millivolt settings. So this one, this one, this one, and this one. Just increase them by like 10 or 20, all of them, until you no longer have a crash, and then start decreasing by 5 to 10, just one setting at a time, until you get a crash. Move back to the settings you had just before you had a crash, and then after you think you've got each setting, like say you've got core voltage as low as you can get it, do a reboot of your entire rig and make sure it doesn't crash or do high LA upon starting mining again, and do that for each setting. So that could take a long time, especially if you're doing every GPU individually. If you've got a whole bunch of the same GPUs, it's going to be so much easier. And what did we do? There was Sapphire as the last one. So this one's really efficient as well, and obviously it's selling for $5.99 at the moment. Sorry, that's New Zealand dollars. And if you are in New Zealand, there is places you can get them cheaper, secondhand. Facebook Marketplace doesn't have any at the moment, but if they do pop up, they're obviously going to be going for less than retail prices because they're available brand new at $5.99. On TradeMe, there currently is some of the power colors. So this exact card here for like $561, which is a great deal. Yeah, that's pretty much all on the 6600s. 0.6215 efficiency, which is insane. They run super cool. Obviously they're fairly low mega hash, so you would need to be quite cheap with your parts. Don't spend too much on parts. But yeah, my favorite GPU because it's the most efficient one I own. And yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. I'll try to get some more videos out. I'll try to talk more on that 6800 that I had there and how to get it as efficient as I got it. But yeah, still these GPUs are more efficient than the 6800 even after utilizing that trick to get it down to under 100 software power. But yeah, I'll do a video on that 6800 just to show you guys. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. Have a great day. See ya.